Welcome back to 32 Ways to Connect. We're on day 22. I am still Mary, and today's word is kindness. Kindness. Check in. What does kindness look like to you? Maybe you have an image of a stranger doing something really generous for you when you were having a bad day. Maybe you were the stranger that did something nice for someone. Maybe there's a loved one that you did something magical for their birthday or special event, or they for you. But kindness is generally an act of generosity, of compassion, of being considerate, usually towards another, but also with yourself. So there's kindness that we generate within ourselves that can be really helpful, especially when we're struggling or we're about to do something scary, or maybe we have a lot of anxiety or we're not feeling well that day. Bringing that kindness, that love, that compassion to ourselves can be really helpful. And that's one way it can look. Another way it can look is having some kind of magical agreement with life about how you want to pay the meter, right? So when you feed the meter, you're able to park, you're able to take up space and be in the place you want to be. And I use this metaphor sometimes for us being here on life. So there's acts of kindness, there's things that we can do even for others that we're feeding into the energetic of just overall well-being of all of life. And we may not necessarily always see a direct reflection of gratitude or a return from that specific person or event on the kindness that we feed the meter, we feed the world. However, I do believe it comes back around again. So you may already feel really tapped into this sense of wisdom or re-remembering now in this moment of times where maybe in that exact moment you didn't receive an immediate yes or thank you or return on whatever kind or generous act you did. However, maybe the next day, maybe 2 months later, maybe even a year later, we have a big moment of, oh, wow. And there's a return. Also, think of the times when you've struggled throughout your day and a stranger has done a really loving or kind act for you, how that's impacted you moving forward, and how you've continued to pay that forward. So, kindness is a really powerful connector in our world. And yes, it does help to start with yourself. I notice some days it's important to bring that love, that attention to myself, and then I'm able to move out in the world in all the ways that I love that can reflect that kindness, and that tends to feed it for me. Right? I'm able to stay more open into all of my world, all of my life. So the card I pulled to help us recognize ways we can draw more deeply into our own sense of kindness and generosity for the world, I pulled the Eight of Swords. The Eight of Swords is generally a card of indecision. And I'm curious if there's points where you are given a choice point in your life to make one choice or another, right? Towards a kind act, towards self or other, or maybe the opposite of that. And you may freeze, right? So this card is about a sense of feeling frozen. However, it's an illusion there. In the card, it reflects this sense of indecision comes because someone feels like they're blindfolded. They don't know what the right answer is, but it's actually a trick. There's actually a clear path right in front of the person, even if it's not most obvious in that moment. So coming back around again to that magical agreement with life of maybe an act that you commit to that you do on a consistent basis in the world that generates more kindness, and choosing that with a sense of no matter whatness. I think of my partner, and no matter where he is, If he sees a piece of trash somewhere, he always picks it up and puts it in a receptacle or recycles it. And that's his act, his no matter whatness act with life to keep feeding the meter. So I leave that with you. Take what's useful, dismiss what's not. All my love. Bye bye.